right, Dune. I saw the original as a kid on TV multiple times in syndication.
The spice harvested
I've
by
held off
Villeneuve
on seeing
is
this because it seems so
taking
long and
its time to avoid the heat.
not huge into sci-fi. Remember the big thing about this movie was the spice.
They ravage our lands in front of our eyes.
Very Star Wars-esque because obviously Star Wars copied this stuff, but um, Star Wars obviously beat it to the punch.
These outsiders, the Harkonnens, came long before I was born.
That
Under
whole blue
Joel's
eye thing.
production, they became obscenely rich. Richer than the Emperor himself.
I always found it creepy as a kid, the deep blue eyes. Talking about emperors and spice and money, it just reminds me of the prequel trilogy for Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars. And sand people, all that stuff. But hey, we're not here to talk about Star Wars. Let's talk about Dune.
Our warriors couldn't free rebels
So,
from the
as my
Harkonnens.
recording of
But
this
one day,
is
an
happening,
imperial decree.
Dune Part 2 came out and it was huge, which is part of the reason why I'm giving this movie a chance. Because I've heard how great that movie was. I'm like, all right, let me see Part 1 and decide if I want to watch Part 2.
Will our next
By all
oppressor.
accounts, Part 2 is a lot better, and you don't need to see Part 1. But I figured, you know what, let me just check this out. But Denis Villeneuve, he's a great visual director. I've seen, I think, most of his movies. He hasn't made a ton, but I've seen most of his major theatrical releases. I think this lead actor is kind of the reason why I didn't watch the movie, honestly. Having that simple name and spelling it all weird and being like this, I don't know. I guess as a kid, the term for guys like him would be like metrosexuals. Just a highly groomed, thin guy who's supposed to be a tough guy on screen, as opposed to like, having just like a real tough guy, like, I don't know, the equivalent of, I guess, what would be James Cagney or Humphrey Bogart as a kid, and not as a kid, I mean, I'm not that old, but like, older movies. And then as a kid, maybe like the Sylvester Stallones or Schwarzeneggers, just having like grizzled guys as the action stars. Just seeing this highly groomed, you know, non-threatening male model type as the action hero is just kind of weird for me. It reminds me of young Keanu Reeves. No offense to him at all. I'm sure he's a great actor. I'm sure he's a great performance, but it's just a higher suspension of disbelief. Wind chimes inside the house is kind of weird. Very artsy. Again, Denis Villeneuve. I knew this movie would look great, and so far, so good. I'm going to stop saying this soon, but again, feels very similar to Star Wars. And again, no, but that's no knock on Dune. It's just Dune, the book came out before Star Wars, so. So the early to mid 60s, the books came out. And then I think Star Wars started in the late 70s. Looks so similar to Arrival with the execution of these spaceships, the sound, the visuals, definitely makes it feel super epic. Is that a giant carpet? The only thing honestly missing in scenes like these in sci-fi is that, I mean, if this thing was happening in the real world, there'd be cameras and there'd be a ton of like the common people around.
How much will it cost them traveling all this way for this
You know,
formality?
common people or just people, I should say. Like talking commoners like I'm not a commoner, but there'd be like a huge audience for stuff like this. Because obviously you're taxing the people, and why have this show if you don't have a lot of people watching? How do you even think of these visuals? Obviously, there are descriptions in the books, but the execution of these visuals are just really, really good. Great looking movie. Costumes, sound, visuals. It's kind of weird to do all this production and all this pomp and circumstance, and then just why don't you just go a little bit closer and talk face to face at this point? Why like yell from such a far distance when you already spent all this time space traveling to get there? It's weird that none of these guys have weapons. I'm assuming they're all wearing these uniforms like they're soldiers. So I don't see any weapons on them. By the way, I'm not as talkative as I am on other tracks, just because this is my first time watching it while I'm commenting on it. So forgive me if I go a few dry spells without saying anything. I'm trying to take it all in. It's always interesting with movies like these. You wonder how like they can afford such a huge all-star cast and budget and location. Do actors take pay cuts for movies like this? You'd have to assume so. Because there's a lot of people here who could open movies by themselves. No, he did not. Oh, I beat him to the joke. I wonder if he's gonna die off quickly. That would take care of the budget right there if he's just there for a cameo. Father seems so formal. I hate when people talk in movies like they wouldn't talk in real life. So beautiful. Every frame a painting, as they would say. So looking at Denis Villeneuve's filmography, obviously I'm watching Dune now. Depending on how this goes, I may watch Dune Part 2. Honestly, I did skip out on Blade Runner, just because I never got into Blade Runner. I think because there were so many cuts. I think there's like 3 or 4 different versions of Blade Runner. I've seen them all, but honestly, it's so long and slow that I can't differentiate the different versions from each other, or like what makes one better than the other. By the time you get through it, let enough time pass, watch a different version, it's just like, all right, what was supposed to be the major difference? Why was this one so much better than the other? I'm sure I'm pissing off like Blade Runner fans, but because of that, I didn't get into the remake. I don't know if that's a remake, soft reboot, sequel, but I didn't watch his version of Blade Runner. But it seemed like similar to this, where it's just like a huge cast, huge budget, great visuals. I'm sure it would have been good. And the original Blade Runners are good as well. It's just that when you have so many versions of a movie, it kind of just makes it exhausting to like figure out like, all right, anything about it, because you're preoccupied on like, all right, which one's better? Which one should I follow? What are the themes I should be focusing on? But I did see Arrival, Sicario, Enemy, Prisoners. I thought they were all good. I thought Prisoners was a little bit overrated based on its reputation, but I thought it was really good. Enemy, I loved, probably because I didn't have any expectations. But of the movies I've seen from him, I definitely think Sicario was the best one by far. I I didn't just like the visuals and the story, but it also felt like Benicio del Toro's character was kind of like a Batman, a Latino Batman in a way. This was obviously a lot more awkward in the original version for those people who saw it. There's these blue boxy force fields. I guess another reason why I can't get into movies like these is I hate the Chosen One storylines. I mean, sometimes they're executed really well, and it's hard to hate them all because it's such a huge trope in movies. But, you're the chosen one. It has to be you. You're gonna lead us to the promised land. You're the one. And again, speaking of the fact that he reminds me of a young Keanu Reeves, you talking about one of Keanu Reeves' biggest role is The Matrix, where he was the one, Neo.
The last of our ships have left Arrakis.
Interesting, we got Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista.
Very good.
Two guys I think that were up for similar roles. I think they were both up for
How can the Emperor
Drax the Destroyer.
everything we built and give it to that dude?
I think Momoa turned it down,
Now?
Don't be too sure it's an act of love.
and that gave Batista a chance.
What does he mean?
Turned out best for both because Batista did a great job bringing humor to that role, and then Jason Momoa obviously got to play Aquaman.
This is rising.
Beautiful looking ship. I'm not sure how efficient it is, the way it's built, but very beautiful. I guess I should try to be more articulate with my feeling on the visuals, but yeah, they're great. The light, the sound, cinematography, costume, special effects, all just come together so well. If I was huge into sci-fi, I would love Denis Villeneuve, and I would love this movie. I mean, how can it get better than this, honestly, if this is what you're into? Again, not to make the Star Wars comparison again, but this is a guy who should be making Star Wars movies, honestly. The only thing I don't like about some of these future movies is that everything looks, I don't know, it doesn't look efficient. It's like all of this open space. None of it seems practical.
Defiance in the eyes, like his father.
And what is this, like a library? I mean, we don't even have books now. If this is supposed to be super futuristic,
Come,
why do they have books?
kneel.
This is where you can alter the source material.
How dare you use the voice on me?
It should probably be like a computer room or something instead of a library.
Put your right hand in the box. Your mother bade you obey me.
Bade you obey me. That's funny. His mother would do that to him? That doesn't sound believable. It's weird back-to-back scenes by the mother.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
First she showed concerns for him. Now she's willing to let him die. Good performances. A good way of adding visuals to this, so it's just not him staring at her the whole time. The cutting back and forth.
Only I will remain.
Enough.
They're making him a little bit of a Mary Sue, though. It's always good to see your hero fail more at the beginning.
Like sifting sand through a screen, we sift people. If you had been unable to control your impulses like an
And
animal,
again, if they were going to kill him, I guess he had to pass the test.
you inherit too much power.
Because I'm a Duke's son.
Because you are Jessica's son. You have more than one birthright, boy. Jessica? You've been training.
How do you not hate your mother after something like this?
Tell me about these dreams.
All of this because he had dreams. Jeez. This is how people become introverts.
Have you dreamt of her? It has been late.
The power dynamic is so off with reality. Someone in her position wouldn't be able to be that disrespectful to whoever they're supposed to be, like the kings and the queens of this country or this planet or whatever. How close are they that they're whispering? Seems like there's like a huge gap between them. I hate when movies do this. They're close-ups so they can whisper, but then a wide shot shows they're like, they shouldn't be able to hear each other because they're too far apart. I mocked this in a movie I did called Deadpool, but I just never finished it. It was supposed to be released before Deadpool. Yeah, like look at this scene. Look how far apart they are. Why the hell are they whispering? And again, no knock on his performance or the story or anything like that. He just seems like an emo teenager, constantly moping. It's like, why turn him into an action hero? I can see why this movie is so long. They definitely spend a lot of time building it up, which is not a bad thing. This looks like space chess or something. Where are the bathrooms in this place, by the way? Like, it's just all this open space. Bagpipes. Jeez. That's always the interesting thing with sci-fi. It's like it's a prisoner of the time the source material was made and the time the film was made, as to, see what is going to be in the future world that just looks completely out of place. And Bagpipes definitely feels like one of those things. Here we go. This is what I was looking for in the earlier scene. Is the people. The people you're putting on the show for. Now I wonder, is this a soundstage?
Don't be fooled by the welcome. They follow their old master's rules, mandatory attendance. That's hearkening.
I mean, it looks so clean. Obviously, this wide shot is, but no, this has to be all soundstage. It looks way too clean. Lots of desert in this movie. No matter what planet you're on, I guess. Lots and lots of desert. Mountains. This movie could use some color, though. Some graffiti, something that makes it look a little bit more realistic. Too quiet. One thing with all this desert, no one's actually ever hot. You figure they'd be sweating all the time. It's a nitpick nuance, but it's just a nuance that you don't find in a lot of these movies, is adjusting to temperature and things like that. You figure inside would be more air conditioned and people would react to that. You figure outside would be hot and dry and people would react to that more. The only thing they're reacting to are the actual physical things that you're seeing, like the wind, but not actually things that they would be feeling, like the heat and the cold. All of this pomp and circumstance and guards and poetic talking, and someone could have just pulled out a knife and killed her after all of that. It's crazy. Imagine someone being able to do that to like Trump or Putin. Now, what the fuck are these trees doing here? In the middle of the desert like that.
Hello.
He's watering sand.
You should be out here this hour of the day.
They're out here.
Fremen pilgrims. They don't care about heat stroke.
Why are they talking about heat when no one's sweating? See, this black guy's sweating.
Old dream.
think he's the first guy I saw sweating in this desert movie so far. Was that something to kill him? Or something to send him a message? And how do you even notice something like that? His powers? He's not even gonna blink? Should be poop all over that place, honestly.
Activate silence.
Now our trade is
I lied. Why are they gonna emasculate their general like that? Hmm. I don't know if Jason Momoa is gonna be long for this movie. He seems like the type of character that's gonna die to motivate our lead. Javier Bardem. Is that a hot air balloon? The music in this movie definitely helps. Makes you think more is happening than it actually is. I wonder how accurate these movies are to the books. It seems like the fans of the books are huge fans of the movies, so I'm assuming accurate. Or at least more accurate than the 80s version. You can?
You can see the spice scattered over the surface. Rich spice bed. By the color. If you get a little
Oh, visually they show you the difference between the spice and the sand. They just hyped up this spice so much. I wonder what the worms eat. This movie is reminding me I need to see Lawrence of Arabia again. I wonder how far in the future this is supposed to be, or if it's just an alternate world. I will give the movie this. I mean, it's over an hour into it. Not a lot has happened, but it does have my attention. I thought I'd be really bored by this movie. That's why I didn't watch it. But it's pretty good. I mean, I knew it looked good, but I just thought I'd be bored with all the sci-fi BS. Not saying sci-fi is BS, but it's just not my thing. I'm assuming at some point he's gonna do something. Because they built him up so much to be the one. I'm assuming this is going to be his moment with this worm. Jesus. How do you forget your son?
Cleanse the world.
So what is it doing?
And
Eating
cleanse the world for
the
his
ship?
people.
How is that sustenance? Zendaya? Was this a young adult book, I wonder? Dune? It definitely has a young adult vibe in that the central characters are both like, I don't know what they're supposed to be, early 20s, supermodels who are chosen ones. I picked an odd movie to do commentary on because there's not a lot going on. Very much a visual movie. Not a lot of story to recap. He's not your son. Uh-oh. Sounds like a character that knows he's about to die. He's warning the audience. This seems like the type of wife that would kill you in your sleep. Where's the social interaction in this movie? The bars, the clubs. The restaurants. It's just military scene after military scene after you're the one scene and you're the savior scene. It needs something to break it up a little bit. It's a little one-dimensional in that sense. Speaking of Star Wars again, that's where Star Wars really works, is that it does break it up some. This movie wants to be too epic at times. It's a trap. Is that it? He's dead? Stunned, paralyzed? All right, now we got some action going here. Who the hell's attacking? They did a great job of making us care about the lead character. The only problem is, despite the huge cast and the massive amount of people you're seeing on screen, the lead character is really the only one we actually care about. Despite an hour and 20 minutes of build-up, everyone we're seeing here are just like nameless, faceless people. I don't even know what all this is about. About the Spaihts, I guess. He's still alive. Mm. So his fate is sealed at this point. Again, this would have more meaning if we even knew any of these characters. Again, Villeneuve is a really good with cinematography and shot lists because that's a creative way of, I guess, keeping their PG-13 rating while making it seem like that was a violent scene. I guess this is all about his hero's journey. Why not just have guns? All these spaceships and futuristic technology just to fight with swords. The minute you get in the ship, you can shoot missiles. Outside the ship, all you got is a sword. Again, I can see where Star Wars got the whole futuristic weapons plus lightsabers from, if this is one of the sources. I know Samurai Films was another source as well. The Hidden Fortress. Again, I can't knock the movie if the source material said they had swords, but it's just an odd mix of weapons. The Doctor is one of the major villains. That's funny. Sexual assault. Not where you think this film would be going.
Remove her gas.
Again, I can see where Star Wars directly ripped this from. Or he's using the Force. Who's landing the plane? Again, very Star Wars-esque. Also very, what's that film? That Western? The Searchers. Very much like The Searchers. Or The Big Heat. You get the hero away from their home. And you destroy their home. Then they have to look back and see it helplessly. A very good trope. Very good. I'm happy for the success of this movie because there's a lot of books and shows and movies that get ripped off. And then the original source never gets any success. John Carter of Mars. I know it's a successful book that Star Wars also borrowed heavily from. But then that movie got released. It did terribly. So it's good to see here where Dune is another source material that Star Wars heavily ripped off. It's good to see them do well. Because again, you can see a lot of where Star Wars borrowed from. Again, it's not a knock on Star Wars. It's not a knock on any source material I mentioned. It's just is the way it is. I mean, you're going to find inspirations from a lot of sources. Again, this feels a lot like The Empire Strikes Back with Cloud City. This is Boba Fett or something. Is he gonna live because he put on the shield? You gotta think so. This is a very good setup to the trilogy. Ending now wouldn't be the worst case scenario, but this movie has almost another hour to go. A lot of build up to Zendaya. Her character better be worth it. I guess I trust the movie at this point that it will be. Who's who here? They're all wearing basically the same outfit. It's about time he lashed out against her. She seems real fanatical. Cultish. Obviously, for the sake of the movie, she's right, but mothers like this in real life are toxic. Recycled water. What is that, like piss and sweat and tears. What timing? Only in movies. How is this even possible? Why are they whispering? I wonder if that commander guy, the albino, I wonder if he's still alive. Or if he died off screen. Yeah, I figure they're all dead by now. So much desert, so much ships. Are they moving slow or is it slow motion? Oh, they're just moving slow. Is this a vision or is this actually happening? He's not even going to take out his sword? Why didn't he just stay in the inside to protect them better? I guess this is where he gets it. He could have just tried to escape with them. He didn't really buy them any time if they were just gonna stand there until he died. If they were running while he was dying, that would have made more sense. He could have just kept his mouth shut and killed them from behind. It's like, warning, I'm gonna kill you now. See, what you really gotta do is have the person that kills him be like a major bad guy that we can root for getting killed later on, instead of a nameless, faceless stormtrooper. Come on, build up that drama. We gotta see people running at him. You would think they had like ships waiting to cut off any ships trying to leave. If they were going to be attacking them like that. Is she gonna ride it? Oh shit. I guess not. Wow. It's amazing how much Star Wars borrowed from this movie. I thought it borrowed so heavily from Hidden Fortress, the Kurosawa film, but yeah, it's just an amalgamation of a bunch of different movies. Almost like Star Wars, the original trilogy almost feels like a Tarantino film. Or it's like you could just backtrack all of the movies it copied from scene to scene. But man, it borrowed heavily from Dune. I think this movie is basically going to end up killing off almost all the characters we followed from the beginning. They really should have had Bautista killing all those people. Built up Bautista more as like a major villain. Luke, trust the Force. I'm confused. Don't those things need to be flapping? If they don't need to flap, what's the point of them flapping at all? I don't understand, like, how this thing is... was still in the air as long as it was. And I hope the sequel isn't as beige as this. As beautiful as this movie is to look at, just the constant beige color of every scene. Even the actors look beige because most of them are white. But this movie must have won a bunch of awards for costume design and set design, sound design, special effects. Did I say sound design already? But yeah, a lot of technical things about this movie is just so on point. The ways of the Force, you mean? Two moons. It's crazy. From the point I said this movie should have probably ended to now, it's just a lot of mom and son running in the desert. It's lost a lot of momentum. It's not bad, but it's more like a road movie now with mom and son than this epic sci-fi adventure. Aside from Jason Momoa and that black girl dying, not a lot has happened in the last hour or so. Or what's gonna be the last hour or so of the movie. Still a lot of time left. So I could be wrong. There's no way he's gonna outrun that, is he? It's kind of like those 80s and 90s action movie where people outrun bullets and machine guns. It's odd that you get an actress like this to play the mother of an adult. Because there was a time where the minute an actress played a mother, she can't go back to playing a leading lady or the love interest anymore. Because then you have that image of them being a mother. Again, especially when it's the mother of an adult. Why don't they just use the voice or the force and tell them to kill each other? Stop or my mom will shoot. Timothée Chalamet. Shabalamading dong. Oh, he's cheating. He's seeing how the fight plays out. He can just use the force power. Tell the guy to kill himself. So if he sees himself losing, how's he gonna win? I always find scenes like these weird. You know he's not gonna die, but they do a good job of building up tension, which I guess is a sign of a good movie. Building up tension even though you know the outcome. And it does give you a climax to end the movie with. On a high note. Is he gonna kill him? Oh wow. I don't know why I thought they would sugarcoat it, considering it's based on a book. A book that it seems to be faithful to. A little anticlimactic, considering the fight wasn't close. It was just about whether he's willing to kill him or not, as opposed to whether he'd win or not. Which makes sense because we didn't really think he would die anyway. This guy's not Luke Skywalker, he's Darth Vader. That smirk looked like a villain origin story.